Portugal decriminalized all drugs in 2001. Heroin, cocaine, meth, everything. Overdose deaths dropped by 80%. That is the kind of place we are talking about. This is not about port wine and tiles. You are about to hear 25 facts that sound like internet hoaxes but are documented reality. A bookstore inside a church. A forest where trees grow sideways for no reason. The oldest borders in Europe that never moved while everything else got redrawn a dozen times. Let's start with the fact that Portugal once ruled half the planet from a country smaller than Indiana. In 1494, Portugal and Spain signed the Treaty of Tordesillas, and they split the entire undiscovered world in half with a line drawn on a map. Portugal got everything east of the line, including Brazil, Africa, India, and Southeast Asia. Spain got the west. The Pope blessed the agreement. For a century, Portugal controlled the spice trade, the slave trade, and sea routes nobody else knew existed. Lisbon was destroyed by an earthquake in 1755, so powerful it created tsunamis that reached the Caribbean. The quake struck on All Saints' Day during Mass. Churches collapsed with congregations inside. Fires burned for days. Between 30,000 and 60,000 people died. The city was rebuilt from scratch using earthquake-resistant designs that engineers still study today. Portugal's borders with Spain have not changed since 1297. That's over 700 years without a single adjustment. Every other European country redrew its map multiple times. Wars, treaties, empires rising and falling. Portugal's border stayed put through it all, making it the oldest border on the continent. The University of Coimbra has been operating since 1290. Classes never stopped, not during plagues, not during wars, not during revolutions. Inside the university, the Joanina Library uses bats to protect rare books. The bats live in the library and eat insects that would destroy centuries-old manuscripts. Staff cover the tables with leather sheets every night so bat droppings do not damage the furniture. There is a bookstore in Porto called Livraria Lelo that looks like a cathedral inside. A red spiral staircase winds up the center. Stained glass skylights flood the space with colored light. J.K. Rowling lived in Porto in the early 1990s and visited this bookstore regularly. People say it inspired the Hogwarts library, though she has never confirmed it. Portugal decriminalized all drugs in 2001. This did not legalize drugs. Possession remains illegal, and it is treated as a public health issue, not a crime. People who use drugs are referred to counseling instead of going to jail. Within a decade, HIV infections dropped by 95%, overdose deaths fell by 80%, and drug use among teenagers declined. The policy is now studied worldwide as a model for harm reduction. The crooked forest near Grandola has hundreds of pine trees that grow at a 45-degree angle, then curve back upright. Nobody knows why. Theories range from soil composition to magnetic anomalies to human intervention, but no explanation has been proven. The trees have been growing this way for decades, and foresters have no records of anyone planting them deliberately. Portugal abolished the death penalty in 1867, one of the first countries in the world to do so. The last execution was a public hanging in Lagos. After that, the government decided capital punishment was inhumane and removed it from the legal code entirely. It took most of Europe another century to follow. Fado music is so tied to Portuguese identity that it is protected by UNESCO. The songs are about saudade, a word with no direct English translation. It means a deep, melancholic longing for something lost or unattainable. Fado singers perform in small restaurants in Lisbon's Alfama district, and when they start singing, everyone stops talking. Silence is mandatory. Applause only comes at the end. The Vasco da Gama Bridge in Lisbon is 17 kilometers long, one of the longest bridges in Europe. It was built to withstand an earthquake of up to magnitude 8.5 and winds of up to 250 kilometers per hour. Engineers designed it to last 120 years. The bridge crosses the Tagus River, and it takes about 10 minutes to drive across at highway speed. Portugal has more cork trees than any other country. Over half the world's cork comes from Portuguese forests. Cork oak trees can live for 200 years, and their bark regenerates after being harvested. Wine corks, floor tiles, insulation, and even fashion accessories are all made from Portuguese cork. The trees are legally protected, and cutting one down without permission can result in massive fines. Madeira wine was George Washington's drink of choice. He served it at his inauguration, and he ordered barrels of it regularly. The wine is fortified, and it can last for centuries without spoiling. Bottles from the 1700s are still drinkable today. Madeira became popular with American colonists because it survived the long Atlantic voyage better than other wines. Portugal's national soccer team did not win a major tournament until 2016, despite producing some of the world's best players. Players like Eusebio, Luis Figo, and Cristiano Ronaldo were all legends. When they finally won the European Championship, the entire country shut down, and streets flooded with people. It was the first major trophy in Portuguese football history. Belém Tower in Lisbon was built as a fortress in the early 1500s to defend the city from naval attacks. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site now, covered in intricate manual-lined stonework. The tower also served as a prison and as a customs checkpoint. Today, it is one of the most photographed landmarks in Portugal, sitting at the edge of the Tagus River where explorers once set sail. Portugal was a dictatorship until 1974. Antonio de Oliveira Salazar ruled for 36 years, one of the longest dictatorships in European history. The regime censored the press, banned political parties, and maintained colonial wars in Africa. On April 25, 1974, military officers staged a coup. Civilians placed red carnations in the soldiers' rifle barrels, and the revolution became known as the Carnation Revolution. Not a single shot was fired. Democracy was restored within a year. The Algarve coast has over 150 beaches, many of them hidden between towering limestone cliffs. Some beaches are only accessible by boat or through tunnels carved into the rock. Benagil Cave is one of the most famous, a massive sea cave with a circular opening in the roof that lets sunlight pour in. Tourists kayak inside during low tide. Portugal's population is shrinking. The birth rate is one of the lowest in Europe, and young people are leaving to find jobs in other countries. Villages in the interior are emptying out. Some towns offer free houses to anyone willing to move there and renovate. The government has launched programs to attract remote workers and retirees, hoping to reverse the decline. Pastel de nata, the custard tart, was invented by monks at the Jerónimos Monastery in Lisbon in the 18th century. After a liberal revolution in the 1820s, monasteries were closed, and the monks began selling the tarts to survive. The recipe was eventually sold to a nearby bakery, Pastéis de Belém, which still makes them using the original secret formula. Tourists line up for hours to buy them. Portugal has the westernmost point of continental Europe, Cabo da Roca. A stone monument marks the spot, and it bears an inscription by Portuguese poet Luís de Camões that reads, "Here, where the land ends and the sea begins." Beyond the cliffs, there is nothing but the Atlantic Ocean, stretching all the way to North America. The Portuguese language is spoken by over 250 million people worldwide, making it the 6th most spoken language on the planet. It is the official language in 9 countries across 4 continents. Those countries are Portugal, Brazil, Angola, Mozambique, Cape Verde, Guinea-Bissau, São Tomé and Príncipe, East Timor, and Equatorial Guinea. Brazilian Portuguese and European Portuguese sound so different that speakers sometimes struggle to understand each other. Portugal's national dish is bacalhau, dried salted cod. The country imports most of its cod from Norway and Iceland because Portuguese waters do not have enough. There are supposedly 365 ways to cook bacalhau, one for every day of the year. It is served at Christmas, Easter, and family gatherings. Despite being surrounded by the ocean, Portugal's most iconic food comes from the North Atlantic. The Azores Islands sit in the middle of the Atlantic, more than 1,500 kilometers from mainland Portugal. The islands are volcanic, with hot springs, crater lakes, and black sand beaches. Ponta Delgada, the largest city, has a population of about 68,000 people. The islands are a stopover for migratory birds and a hotspot for whale watching. Sperm whales, blue whales, and dolphins pass through the waters year-round. Portugal has one of the lowest crime rates in Europe. Lisbon and Porto rank among the safest cities on the continent. Violent crime is rare. Pickpocketing does occur in tourist areas, but serious offenses are uncommon. The country's prison population is small, and rehabilitation programs focus on reintegration rather than punishment. The Portuguese man-of-war is not Portuguese and not a jellyfish. It is a colony of organisms called a siphonophore, and it drifts with ocean currents. The name comes from its resemblance to 18th century Portuguese warships. Its tentacles can stretch 30 meters, and they deliver a painful sting. They wash up on Portuguese beaches regularly, especially in the Algarve. Portugal's strangest truths hide in forests where trees grow sideways, laws that treat addiction as illness, and borders that refuse to budge for 700 years while Europe tore itself apart. This is a country that split the world in half with Spain, survived an earthquake that shook 3 continents, and ended a dictatorship without firing a shot. Subscribe for more European facts that sound fake. Drop your favorite Portugal fact in the comments. Watch the Spain episode next. You will not believe what happened when they lost their empire.